The different ways to say you in French. In the past, we used to have two different ways to say you in English. We've always had you, but we also used to have thou. In French, there still exist two different ways to say you. In Old English, we used to have the word thou, which was used when talking informally, that is to say, when speaking to people we knew well. The word you was reserved for more formal occasions. It was used when speaking to people we didn't know or those who were older than us. In French, even today, there are two ways to say you: tu and vous. Tu. The word tu is equivalent to the word thou. It is classed as an informal singular word. What this means is that you only ever use it when you're speaking to just one person whom you know well. This could be a friend or a family member. You can also use tu in French when you're speaking to somebody who is younger than you. Vous. The word vous, on the other hand, is used in all other situations. It actually has two uses. Firstly, it's classed as a formal singular word, which means you can use it when you're speaking to one person whom you're not overly familiar with. This is usually considered the more polite way of saying you, and if you're being spoken to by somebody working in a shop or a restaurant or a bank, for example, they will usually address you as vous. Additionally, you would tend to use vous when you're speaking to somebody who is older than you. Secondly, vous is classed as the plural way of saying you. That means if you're speaking to more than one person, be it two people or a group of 1,000,000 people, you must always address them as vous. It doesn't matter if you know them or not, and it doesn't matter how formal you're trying to be. If you're speaking to more than one person in French, you will always call them vous. Using tu and vous with verbs. Now, obviously, you would never, or very rarely, use tu or vous just by themselves, just like you wouldn't really ever say the word you just by itself. Usually, you would use these words with a verb. In French, the ending of the verb changes depending on whether you're using tu or vous. I'll try not to turn this video into a huge, long-winded verb conjugation lesson, but generally, you'll notice that verbs that are used with vous end in the letters ez, whereas verbs that are used with tu end in the letter s. Here are a few examples of this in use. What would you like to eat? Que voudrais-tu manger? Que voudrais-tu manger? So this example is using tu, and the verb voudrais ends in the letter s. If we change the subject to vous, we get que voudriez-vous manger? Que voudriez-vous manger? And you can see that the verb voudriez ends in ez. You speak French very well. Tu parles très bien le français. Tu parles très bien le français. So you can see in the tu example, the verb parle ends in an s. Let's change the subject to vous. Vous parlez très bien le français. Vous parlez très bien le français. So this time, the verb parler ends in ez because the subject is vous. Where do you live? Où habites-tu? Où habites-tu? So the verb habite ends in the letter s when the subject is tu. Let's change the subject to vous. Où habitez-vous? Où habitez-vous? So this time, the verb ends in ez. If this doesn't make sense to you, I've written a course that explains how to use verbs in French, and it's called Quick Guide French Verbs 1. It shows you in an easy method how to conjugate French verbs into the present, past, and future tenses. It also assumes that you know no French at all before you start, meaning it is very useful for any level. You can get it on my website at Teachable, 3minutelanguages.teachable.com, and if you use the code WELCOME, you can get it for a discounted price. Anyway, so you use tu with one person whom you know, and you can use vous for anybody else, one person you don't know very well, or more than one person whom you may or may not know. I would say if you're travelling in France, just stick to using vous, and you won't inadvertently offend anybody. People will also tell you if they want you to use tu with them. The many faces of tu. The good thing about vous is that it comes in one form and one form only, and that form is vous. Whether you're using vous as a subject pronoun, an object pronoun, or after a preposition, it is always just vous. The subject pronoun is when the word vous is the subject of the sentence. For example, vous mangez assez rapidement. Vous mangez assez rapidement means you eat quite quickly. Parlez-vous français? Parlez-vous français? Do you speak French? Vous devez attendre ici. Vous devez attendre ici. You have to wait here. An object pronoun is when the word vous is the object of a sentence. For example, je vais vous montrer demain. Je vais vous montrer demain. I'm going to show you tomorrow. Or Pierre ne vous comprend pas. Pierre ne vous comprend pas. Pierre doesn't understand you. Je pense que Marie vous a vu hier. Je pense que Marie vous a vu hier. I think Marie saw you yesterday. Or you can use vous after prepositions, and just in case you were wondering, prepositions are words like to, at, from, of, with, without, for. For example, ça c'est pour vous. Ça c'est pour vous. That is for you. So for you, pour vous. Je vais aller sans vous. Je vais aller sans vous. I'm going to go without you. Hugo s'entend-il bien avec vous? Hugo s'entend-il bien avec vous? Does Hugo get on well with you? Some examples of prepositions in French are à, meaning to or at, de, meaning of or from, avec, which means with, sans, meaning without, or pour, which means for. With tu, however, it changes depending on what it is used as. The word tu is a subject pronoun, but if you want to use it as an object pronoun, you have to change it to te. If you want to use it with a preposition, you have to use toi instead. Here are some examples of what I mean using the same sentences I used with vous. So as a subject pronoun, we said you eat quite quickly, which was vous mangez assez rapidement. But with tu, we say tu manges assez rapidement. Tu manges assez rapidement. Do you speak French? Well, we said parlez-vous français? But with tu, we say parles-tu français? You have to wait here. We said vous devez attendre ici. But with tu, we say tu dois attendre ici. So as a subject pronoun, we can use the word tu. As an object pronoun, we had the example sentences, I'm going to show you tomorrow. And with vous, we had je vais vous montrer demain. But with tu, as an object pronoun, we say te. Je vais te montrer demain. Je vais te montrer demain. Pierre doesn't understand you was Pierre ne vous comprend pas. But with tu, we say Pierre ne te comprend pas. Pierre ne te comprend pas. I think Marie saw you yesterday. Je pense que Marie vous a vu hier was the sentence with vous. But with tu, we have je pense que Marie t'a vu hier. Je pense que Marie t'a vu hier. In this sentence, you can see that the word te becomes T apostrophe in front of a word that starts with a vowel or the letter H. Finally, with a preposition, we have to say toi, T-O-I. We had the sentence, that is for you, which was ça c'est pour vous, but with the informal we say ça c'est pour toi. Ça c'est pour toi. I'm going to go without you was je vais aller sans vous, but in the informal we say je vais aller sans toi. Je vais aller sans toi. Does Hugo get on well with you? We said Hugo s'entend-il bien avec vous? But in the informal we say Hugo s'entend-il bien avec toi? Hugo s'entend-il bien avec toi? You might have seen the word te in the phrase s'il te plaît. You've more than likely seen s'il vous plaît, which means please. However, this is only if you're speaking formally or to more than one person. If you're speaking to one person informally, you use s'il te plaît instead. So s'il vous plaît and s'il te plaît both mean please. So you use tu as a subject pronoun, te as an object pronoun, and toi after a preposition. And we also learnt that the object pronoun te shortens to T apostrophe when it's placed in front of a word that starts with a vowel or the letter H. This might seem strange because we just use you for everything in English. However, if you look back to the old usage of thou, you'll see that thou was a subject pronoun, but it changed to thee when it was used as an object pronoun or with a preposition. So as a subject pronoun, we used to say, thou speakest very quickly. Vous parlez très rapidement. Or tu parles très rapidement. As an object pronoun, I can see thee. Je peux vous voir. Or je peux te voir. With a preposition, we would have said, I'm going without thee. Je vais sans vous. Je vais sans toi. Possessives. As well as the word you, we also have the words your and yours in English. Well, these also exist in French. In Olden English, the thou equivalent of your was thy, and yours was thine. In French, the words for your and yours, or thy and thine, depend on whether the word that follows is masculine or feminine, and singular or plural. For example, the word car is feminine in French, voiture, whilst dog is masculine, chien. So let's look at how you'd say your when you're speaking to one person informally. Your dog, ton chien, ton chien. Your dogs, tes chiens, tes chiens. Your car, ta voiture, ta voiture. Your cars, tes voitures, tes voitures. So you can see we have ton, ta, and tes. Ton is used with masculine singular nouns, ta is used with feminine singular nouns, and tes is used with all plural nouns. Now let's look at the vous version of this. Your dog, votre chien, votre chien. Your dogs, vos chiens, vos chiens. Your car, votre voiture, votre voiture. Your cars, vos voitures, vos voitures. So you see that there are only two forms of your when you're using vous. There's the singular votre and the plural vos. Now let's look at the word yours. Just like before, when you're using tu, there is a masculine singular form and a feminine singular form, but there is also a masculine plural form and a feminine plural form, instead of just the one plural form. It's yours. That can be c'est le tien, c'est le tien, if the noun it's referring to is a masculine singular noun, or c'est la tienne, c'est la tienne, if the noun is a feminine singular noun. These are yours. Ce sont les tiens. Ce sont les tiens, if the noun is a masculine plural, or ce sont les tiennes. Ce sont les tiennes, if it's a feminine plural noun. So we have le tien, la tienne, les tiens, and les tiennes, which all mean yours in the masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and the feminine plural forms. Now let's have a gander at the vous equivalent to this. It's yours. C'est le vôtre. C'est le vôtre is the masculine singular, or c'est la vôtre, c'est la vôtre is the feminine singular. Or if you want to say these are yours, you say ce sont les vôtres. Ce sont les vôtres. There are only 3 forms with vous. There's le vôtre, la vôtre, and les vôtres, which are the masculine singular, the feminine singular, and the plural versions of the word yours. Now that section might have seemed a little tough and complex, but don't worry if some of it didn't quite make sense yet. Sometimes when you learn something new the first time you read about it, it's basically putting the knowledge in your mind and making you aware of its existence. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to understand it straight away though. Now that you've been given the information, your brain will start to process it, and then gradually it will make more and more sense as you see more everyday examples of it in use. Eventually you'll get to the point where you're confident enough with this new information that you'll be able to use it for yourself in everyday conversations. Just on a side note, that reminds me of another word that has tu and vous alternatives, yourself. In fact, yourself and yourselves, depending on whether you're speaking to one person or more than one person. Yourself in French is toi-même or vous-même. Toi-même, vous-même. And yourselves is vous-même. Finally, there is just one very short section I'm going to add, and that's your, Y-O-U''re. Since there are 2 words for you in French, it goes without saying that there must also be 2 ways to say your. The 2 ways to say your are tu es, and vous êtes, vous êtes. They both literally mean you are, and neither of them contract in French like it does in English. So let's end this video with a few examples of the different words for you, your, yours, and yourself in French. Are you going to keep your money for yourself? Vas-tu garder ton argent pour toi-même? Vas-tu garder ton argent pour toi-même? Or, allez-vous garder votre argent pour votre-même? Allez-vous garder votre argent pour votre-même? I've finished your homework for you. J'ai fini tes devoirs pour toi. J'ai fini tes devoirs pour toi. Or, j'ai fini vos devoirs pour vous. J'ai fini vos devoirs pour vous. Can you bring your car with you? Peux-tu apporter ta voiture avec toi? Peux-tu apporter ta voiture avec toi? Or, pouvez-vous apporter votre voiture avec vous? Pouvez-vous apporter votre voiture avec vous? Have you forgotten your things? As-tu oublié tes choses? As-tu oublié tes choses? Or, avez-vous oublié vos choses? Avez-vous oublié vos choses? What did you do with your hair? Qu'as-tu fait avec tes cheveux? Qu'as-tu fait avec tes cheveux? Or, qu'avez-vous fait avec vos cheveux? Qu'avez-vous fait avec vos cheveux? So that's the difference between tu and vous. Merci.